Hello, everybody. Welcome to Relatable Stories. I'm your host, Angeline Miriro Gahadza, and I'm so excited today to be bringing this show that you've all been waiting for, the divorce series. It's time to let go with my friends, Eddie, Kevin, and Rumbidzai. For those that are joining us for the first time, Relatable Stories is all about cultivating self-love. We share relatable stories that help us to highlight the issues in our lives that could be stopping us from being the best or healthier versions of ourselves. So I'm hoping that you will engage in the comment section, because this discussion is an important discussion, because a lot of us are staying in what we call toxic relationships and suffering torturing each other, really, before we actually find ourselves. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Rumbidzai first. Hi, Rumbi, how are you?
Hi, Angie. How are you today?
I'm awesome. Hi, Kevin.
Hey Ange, how are you? And hi Rumbi, how are
Good.
you?
Okay.
Hi, Eddie.
Yo, what's up? Hi, Angie. Hey, Rumbi. Kevin, what's up, man?
Yeah, this
Hey,
one.
hey.
Wow.
Oh, guys, we've been talking
Loud.
about this, so
Yeah.
it's chilled, right? But I know there's people that haven't met Rumbidzai, that haven't met Kev, that haven't met Eddie. So I'd like for you guys to just introduce yourselves to everybody that's watching today, starting with you, Rumbi. Tell us who's Rumbi.
I was literally saying, Angie, don't pick me first. Don't pick me first.
Yeah, well,
Anywho, hi everyone. As my friend said, my name is Rumbidzai, and yes, I prefer being called Rumbidzai to Rumbi. So I am Rumbidzai Mtendera. I am a founder of Heart to Heart Sanctuary. We are all about, talking to each other, letting each other in on the secrets, on the matters of the hearts. And that's practically why I'm here today, because divorce is something that tears at the heart. So, yeah, Heart to Heart, relatable stories. I am a mom of two girls, and yes, because it is about divorce, right? I've been divorced for 6 years now. It hasn't been easy. Well, it has gotten better over the years, but yeah, that's all about me. What else you want to know, Angie?
well, you're the co-founder of Uplifted Sister.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
I'm
very much.
a co-founder of Uplifted Sister. I'm a psychology student, almost getting my counseling registration. I am a preacher in training. Yes, so that's also about me. Yeah, I think there's a lot to me. You get to know as we go. I might.
Thank you, Rumbidzai. Nice to meet you, Eddie. Tell us about
Yo.
you.
So, where do I start? So, definitely, there's my name, Edishon. That's me. By profession, I'm a healthcare consultant or a medical aid broker. I don't need to say my age, but that's all right. I'm still quite young. I'm a proud father to a son, Jeremiah. He's a wonderful boy. And yes, thank you very much for inviting me to this chat. It's quite an interesting topic, and I hope a lot of people will be able to sort of sponge some of the details that we will break down and talk about, and they can actually use them in their lives, not just for entertainment. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm happy to be here, Angie. Thank you very much.
Thank you for honoring us with your presence, sir.
Thank you.
Gamu, Kevin, you and I had a chat before. Like we sort of broke the ice to this discussion.
Yep,
Um,
we did.
Introduce yourself to the guys that don't know you.
So Rumbidzai, my name is Kevin, and
Okay.
no, I just had to do that to you. Yeah, as you all know, Kevin Gamchirayam Zanenamo. You see, earlier on, I had all my names on, and then Angie is like, dude, those are like 101 letters
Mm,
or alphabets
mm,
already.
mm,
So I was
mm.
taking up the whole space for my screen. So yeah, I've just decided to go with my first name, which is Kevin. Um, Father of two, a beautiful daughter, 11, and young Kevin Jr. He's 13. Been divorced while my papers came out. You see, recently certified a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
But obviously separated for years. But obviously then the paperwork started a bit later after the whole process had already started. A son, an uncle, a nephew, a brother, and a friend to many. Yeah, I think that's about it that I'll share for now. Obviously, founder of Volks Academy. Yes, and this is one of our message t-shirts. Do I run or do I fall? And I know,
Yeah.
so there's a
Very
whole lot of.
relevant to this discussion, Gamu. Very
You know what?
relevant.
Every other discussion, I'll be bringing in a t-shirt that's got a relevant message from our,
Yeah. So let's
Yeah.
get right into it. It's like, do you
Yeah.
run or do you fight? So when a relationship becomes toxic, do you run or do you fight? And the first thing that I just wanted to get out there for everybody, because when we hear the word toxicity or toxic relationship, we begin to think that it's a swear word, really, for lots of you. And you feel like maybe this doesn't happen to me. There's no way that my relationship is toxic. But I've got a definition here that can break it down to you, make you see how toxicity will look different for each and every individual. So, as a definition, it's any relationship between people who don't support each other, where there's conflict and one seeks to undermine the other, where there's competition, where there's disrespect and lack of cohesiveness. So, in any situation where you can find any of these things in your relationship, that could be deemed as toxic. Because a healthy relationship has people that support each other, that can conflict well, that people that are not in competition, that are in unity, that don't respect each other. So, Gamo, I don't know why you chose to tea, but now
So you see, I've got
things
my
are
friends
happening.
on IG, so yeah, I'm trying to get them comfortable where they can hear
Right,
you as well.
right.
My
Okay.
apologies.
So, guys, that is the definition of toxicity. So I'm going to just go across the room, and maybe I won't start with you, with you,
No.
Rumbi, this time because you're giving me the face. But let me know, guys, what is toxicity in your definition? In your specific situations, this is relatable stories. What was toxicity in your situation? Just that for now. Gamu, go.
Well, I don't know why I'm going first because so how I would look at it, looking from my own perspective or my issue, as you know, like we said, we're trying to focus on how we played a part in the topic that we're talking about.
Right.
So there is a time when, for us, it was more circumstances and stuff going wrong, and we started drifting within that relationship. And because obviously I was one of those people, I was that person that couldn't face things head on. I didn't want to deal with big issues. Like, I'm not a confrontational type of a person. So I would rather sit back, process things, and now on the other side there's pressure of let's get this thing done or let's get this problem resolved, and I need it resolved now. So the moment you stop thinking about the other person and seeing the other person and how they function, and I start imposing myself on the situation to say I am a wait until I have processed this type of a person, it starts choking the other person. It starts hindering the other person from functioning properly. So for us, for me, I think I would say that's how I contributed to the whole situation, because as pressure went on, I then imposed how I deal with pressure onto how we should be dealing with things in our marriage. And for us, I think that also started now becoming a bit toxic, because you now have these hardcore conversations. They're not as easy. They're not as comfortable anymore, because there's now pressure involved in it. It's not, okay, you know what, we need to sit down and have a chat. What's going on? It's like,
Right.
why aren't you dealing with this? Come on, get up and start solving this issue and that. It becomes a bit more intense, and the conversations are not as light and are not as comfortable and loving as they should be, because now somebody is dealing with pressure on their end and all of that stuff.
So what I'm hearing is okay.
Yeah, it's fine. You can pick it up because I'm just
what
going
I'm
to rumble
hearing
on.
from you, I just wanted to make sure it's clear for everybody. What I'm hearing from
Yeah.
you is like your conflict resolution was no longer truth in love, so to speak. There's basically me, I want this, I want that, and
Exactly.
no one is actually hearing the other, and therefore the conflict is just not, there's no emotional support when conflict is concerned, and that
Yep.
became a toxic situation for you guys.
True.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay.
I got you. Rumbi, how was it toxic for you?
Oh well. I told you. Okay. All right. Fine. I was gonna say I told you, but okay. For the sake of everyone, I think I have a rare case of toxicity, right? Because I didn't just realize it, but I had been living in a very toxic situation. But then when it came to me that this is toxic was just a point where I could not take it anymore. Like I had a lot of BS that I could take, or I thought that it was normal. But then it just got to a point where, you know what, after all these other things that I have to put up with, I cannot take this I won't accept. So it became unpleasant for me. And there is a time, actually one moment, when I got so afraid of the person that I was becoming. I'll just give you a glimpse of this part. We can jump onto it later on. I remember one night I woke up my ex-husband. He was sleeping right next to me. And I said to him, you know what? I can't sleep. And I'm looking at you whilst you're sleeping peacefully next to me. And I'm shaking. I'm so angry. I think, Gamu, please stop. I think this is how.
That is so funny.
I'm having
Sorry.
fun. I'm like,
You want to kill a person in his sleep?
I wish I could actually share. I actually have a meme for that, for someone who is like looking at this dude sleeping, but it's all right. Go on, Rumi. Sorry about that.
You know what? It happened, but at least I didn't kill him. I woke him up and I told him that, you know what? I think this is how people feel before they kill the other person. Because I'm looking at you and I'm feeling so angry. I'm trying to remember everything that we've been through together, and I cannot believe it could get to where it is. So I became so afraid of the thoughts that were coming into my mind. I became afraid of the person that the situation might turn me out to be. So I was like, you know what, this is it. I cannot be this person. I cannot let the situation turn me into this person that I've read about in the papers. So yeah, that's what I can say on my part.
Wow, that is so graphic, and thank you for that, Rumbi, because that is a toxicity that is obviously clear, but some of us don't get such clear signs. Let's hear what Eddie has to say. What's your toxicity like?
So thank you, Angie. So in my situation, I've been divorced for a couple of years now, probably at least over 2-3 years now, right? And from my definition of where we can talk about a relationship becoming toxic is when there is now a breakdown in communication. So the breakdown in communication, it's not that you are not talking to one another like how we are conversating right now, but I'm talking about not actually making the effort to understand each other, right? I am like an extreme extrovert, and she was an extreme introvert. Yeah. So because I didn't understand who her personality was and who she was really as a person, there are times like what Rumbi just said just now, that you would look at someone, the person is like flat out sleeping and you're still upset, and you're saying, how are you able to get sleep? That was like how it was for me as well. But it was an issue around a person that is an introvert. They don't process things. Not that they don't process things. They take their time to actually process a certain situation. But for me as an extrovert, if there's a problem right now, let's deal with the problem right now. Let's talk about it like right now, not tomorrow, not 2-3 hours later. You know what I mean? So
You
I
sound
wanted
like a toxic person, Eddie, just saying.
so So because that's what you asked, so I'm telling you exactly like how it was. That's
Yeah, yeah,
exactly who I am. I want things to happen now, even in the business. I want results like right now. If I'm talking to a
right.
client, I want them to sign on the dotted line within the next 24 hours because there's nothing else to talk about.
Hmm.
So in my situation, I can say it was an issue to do with breakdown in communication and trying to understand each other. Yeah.
Right, right. So okay, why I had to jab you there and say you sound like a toxic person was basically that's a toxic trait, but how does then that make the relationship itself toxic? So I think we'll delve deeper into it as we go on, but like I wanted to just get an expansion from you just now how
Okay.
your that was your contribution to the toxicity, but then in the relationship now you were not communicating. How did that show up if somebody else is going through that same space where like you cannot get through to the next person anymore? How does that look like? That's sort of what I would want, what I'm curious to know.
Okay, so if I can give you an example. So let's say we have had an argument over a financial issue or a parenting issue or whatever the case may have been, right?
Right.
And I'm looking for an answer like today. So, but she would want to probably take her time to process what I've said because I'm one person as an extrovert. I'm able to talk like 1,000 words per minute. So she obviously needed to process that at the time. But
Yeah.
I would then interpret it as you're not listening to me. You're not considering what
Right.
I'm talking about. You don't want to engage with me in this particular issue, or I would take it as you don't want to reach a resolution to it. But in her mind, she's trying to think about it a lot more and
Mm.
dissect it in different parts for her to firstly understand what I've just said to her or what we are talking about. And then at the end of the day, I have misunderstood her. So I will sit in my little corner and interpret her behavior as a sign of disrespect, you know?
Right.
So I
Right.
would take that as, oh no, what's going on now? You're not listening to me, or you don't want to solve this issue. You just want us to keep fighting. But that was not the ultimate result. It's not the ultimate reality of what she's trying to do. She was actually trying to process what I've spoken about, what our situation was about. So with that now, it created a rift between us. It created a drift, quite a huge one. And
Yeah.
because I did not understand her as an introvert, she probably did not understand me as an extrovert. She probably, or let me say, let me not make assumptions on her behalf, but I would then take it to say, you don't want to talk to me and you don't want to do it. So I'll just take it as you're pushing me away. So I would sit
Right.
in my
Right.
little corner and conclude what I am having the conversation in my mind with whoever I'm having the conversation in my mind. So
Yeah.
that really pushed us apart.
Yeah. So in conclusion, what I'm hearing is then the toxicity is now the space between you guys. There's no longer that cohesiveness, that you're
Yeah,
a united front. You are now doing things in silos as opposed to
yeah,
having a union in discussing things. And if you have a financial issue, you're like, I'd rather just do it by myself, because when I
yeah,
consult her, she does not actually come to the table. So why bother? And I mean, if a
100%.
relationship is now that way, well, that is toxic. So
Yeah,
before I probe you guys to tell me more why we have to let go and how you let go, my situation was I knew, or the toxicity for me projected like this. This is something that just came into my mind because Ruby told us a scary situation. But I remember also in bed every time. So I
keep
suffer
it
from
clean.
insomnia, or I don't even know if it's something like insomnia. But I like to watch movies to escape and watch series to escape and all of that. So my partner will be sleeping and it's probably 12 midnight, 2 a.m. I'm still watching and I'm like, this is my escape, right? But every time that he would move, I would feel like there's a burglar that's come in. Like I was so afraid. I didn't want my partner to wake up so that we can start talking because I was afraid of the next conversation. So for me, that made me realize that I was afraid of my person, and that situation was toxic, and I've shared my story. It was emotional abuse. A lot of things had happened, a lot of things obviously you understand from hearing the whole story, but at the end of the day, what made me realize, or what how I knew is this relationship was now toxic, was not helping me, was I was afraid of the person that was supposed to protect me or love me. So anyway, we're going to talk about it's time to let go. We understand the toxicity. How do you know it's time to let go? What do you do? What are the stages that you go through when you realize it's time to let go? Like how can you walk somebody else who's walked through your shoes in a way that things are easier for them? Because I know for us, no one told us anything. We thought we had to stick it out. We had to fight. But like if you could see, if you're seeing Rumbita, if you're seeing Kevin or Eddie living the same life you are living, what is the process that you would advise them to take? I'll start with you, Gamu.
So I think it then takes us back to getting to know yourself and getting to know the person that you're with. Um, I think over the years, you will then learn what are the boundary lines for the other person. And if I cross this, I most likely know that this is going to happen, right? But at the same time, what I would really want to advise is if you're going to have a discussion with anyone, right, especially your partner, can the discussion start where you are with them at that point in time? Why am I saying this? Just picking up on something that Eddie brought up. Most of the time, we have conversations with ourselves in our heads, and we're actually speaking to the other person. So you say something, and they actually answer you back in your own head. So your conversation keeps going on and on and on and on. And unfortunately, most of the time, you get more and more upset in your head in that head conversation, right? By the time you get to the person in reality and you want to have a conversation, it only takes one word or one line that they say that then triggers you back to say, but I've had this conversation before. And
Yeah.
now, okay, I'm sure it is most likely going to escalate the same way that I processed it. Like I knew they were going to say this. I knew you were going to go there. So now by the time you get to that part of the discussion, you're all probably at 10. But by the time you get to that discussion and you hear that statement, you now jump to 100 because you've been there before. So it's like, okay, fine. I'd rather skip from 10 to 100 because I know we're just going to get to 100 anyway. Which is
Right.
now where things kind of like blow out of proportion when certain statements are said. Because now the other person is replaying what they have already had a discussion about in their head. And you're
Right.
still at 5, you're thinking, but I just said this, and this is what I meant. Now I'm already at 100. I don't want to hear what you're saying because I more or less have, assumed exactly what's going to happen. So your
Right.
explanation in that situation, I'm most likely not going to hear it because I'm already waiting for you to get to where I am at 100. So my word of advice, if you're going to have any discussions about any big issues, can this discussion start when you see the person eye to eye and when you're
Ha.
talking in, the other is sitting there?
How, Kevin? How?
I'm not sure how, but we're gonna have to find a balance because trust, I'm telling you, this is mostly, I think, what would have happened to me most of the time. Like
Okay.
you get to a point where you think, okay, I now know my person. If I say this is what they're gonna say. And half the time when they say something, you're already now saying things because remember, like I'm saying, you've already had this conversation before. You're not having the conversation here, but you're now having a three-way conversation where it's the natural and the conversation that I've had before. So if you say something that I've had in my previous discussion with you in my head, I'm now going to go to the default of what is next or what I thought should be next in my head. I've already left the natural discussion that we're having.
Right.
So that's for me where I would say I don't know how we can do it, but always try and avoid having discussions in your head. If you do and it starts escalating, stop. Because by the time you get to the natural conversation, you're most likely going to explode before anything is said that you should really explode about.
It's a good point, but you didn't answer my question, so I'll come back to you
But-
because I wanted you to let me know, to let us know when it's time to let go, or how that process goes. And
Oh, okay, fine. I'll come back to that. Okay.
no, we'll come
I
back
thought
to
we
you.
were still discussing.
We'll circle back. Rumidai, you're ready to tell us.
What was the question again?
Eddie, do you know the question? Eddie,
You see, he does it because
Eddie,
he's having water already.
No, you know
Eddie,
why,
help me out.
I'm asking, right? Because
And then he goes on mute.
Gamu going on, and I thought I was answering you, and you just said you did not answer you. So now I'm not sure if I heard you right as well. Or so please give me the question again, and I'll answer.
How can I even ask it again? Anyway, so guys, I'm trying to say, right, it's time to let go. We have understood that the situation is toxic, right? And when you were in that situation where you didn't know it was let go time, you were fighting, right? So we want you to walk somebody who's in the situation in a process where it would be easier for them, because you guys had to fight first before you realized, you know what, there's nowhere else to go. This situation is now toxic. I've already created a rift. I'm already a scared cat, or I am already wanting to kill my person because of this toxicity that has come into our situation. What would need to happen? You can tell us what happened, or you can tell us what you think should happen when it's time to let go. Is it clear
Okay,
now?
I got you. You find your answer somewhere in there. But anyway, so okay, just putting it out there, I encourage people to be as graphic as possible. I believe in calling it as letters. Hence, I told you guys about my thoughts and everything, because I've realized that having talked to several people going through whatever they're going through in their relationships, we try to sugarcoat issues. And once we do that, we don't deal with the actual matters. So if you have an anger problem, say it as it is. If you have an issue with a fidelity issue, call it as it is. Hence, for me, yes, it's not a good thing, but I'm proud to put it out there that is what I was feeling, and I was honest enough to tell him that, you know what, this it might have been actually the most honest conversation that I ever had with my ex-husband, because.
Right.
Like I said, I have a different case of toxicity, because I got into a marriage with my own vision, with my own picture, with my own, like what Gamo was saying. I already had the conversation. I had already laid out the plan in my head. We're going to get married. We're going to have kids. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. You're going to go to work. You're going to work in such an area. You're going to try and improve yourself, because that's what people do. They want to better themselves. And when dude did not start to fit into the conversation, into my plan, things became, toxic. But I was like, okay, no, that's fine. I'm a superwoman. I can sort this out. I can work for both of us. I can still give the world that perfect picture that I had created in my head. No one else has to know, because for me it was more like people who had that we had broken up. They were shocked. People who actually knew us, people who used to sit with us, they were shocked, because what they saw outside of our house was a perfect picture. We had couples looking up to us, thinking that we're this fun filled family and whatnot. But that's because I was not happy, but I was not willing to express why I was not happy, because now I knew that we never had that talk. We never planned this picture that I had in my head. It was all in my head. And for some reason, I just assumed that every other person out there wants to get married, wants to build a house, wants to better themselves. I thought that's what everybody wanted out of a marriage. So when it turned out that, no, man, this is not what I wanted. I also did not want to leave this person, because I still thought he was cute, and I thought he loved me all the same. And for me, it was what was holding me on. Like, I thought he loved me. I was holding on to, you know what, he might not be giving me all the dreams that I had as a woman. He might not be doing a BC day with me. It was not even a matter of doing it for me. I need to do these things with him. I need to build a house with him. But he was not coming forth. But still, I was like, he loves me. And that's all that matters. So the moment I then realized that, the only thing that was holding me on to this guy is not there anymore. This guy doesn't love me anymore. That's when it was, it's time up for me. I gotta let go, because all I wanted, I think deep down, I did not mind doing everything else, faking the picture, whatever, the family, even the family. It's only those that were really close to me that knew that there were some loopholes in this marriage. But people who were looking from the outside thought I was okay, thought I was good. I even gave an example that I would rather go home and say to, I hope my mother doesn't watch this, but okay, relatable stories. Then I would say to my mom, oh, your Mukwasha got you this. Because in my mind, I wanted, yes, he was cute, he was cute. Yeah. So I would want I had this idea of how a Mukwasha has to be loved in a family. So I would go to my mom and say, your Mukwasha bought you a pair of shoes, because I wanted to protect him. I wanted that beautiful picture.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at you.
I'm trying to ignore you, Angie. So for me, the moment of letting go was when I was like, you know what? After all that I've done, after all the covering that I've done, you still cannot give me the one thing that I thought I had, which is your love, which is you being mine and only mine. So for someone who's in my situation, I prefer speaking to someone who's not yet into my situation, because I've also had, with my profession, it's still new. I love saying that as a counselor. I've met people who are now in my situation. It's not so easy for them. I think I'm rather an abrupt person. When I rip off a bandit, if I say today I'm done, I'm done. I'm going. In this case I pack these bags and I said, you know what, see you. But for some people, yes, Gamo, I packed these bags and I said bye. I can't. So for people, I think I can connect more to people who are not there yet. I've realized that people are not as abrupt as I am. They won't walk as quickly off as I did. So for those that are not yet there, those are my target goals. Those are the people that I want to talk to stop this going into the marriage with your own vision, with your own ideas, with your whole plan, and think you can just take a man and stick him in there and you will, kind of just live into the dream. You will understand, you just, yeah. So I think rather get to know KYC, know your client, your person. Really.
Once and for his blood.
Don't just know that he's cute because
Once and
he
for his blood.
doesn't pay.
We don't eat cuteness, eh? But I got to know that after being cute was on the table and there was nothing else there.
No, definitely. Like I hear you, Rumbi. There was a whole lot of not being real in terms of looking at your feelings, actually what you're feeling. You are like, you know what? I'm not happy, but I'm going to put that aside because I've got a cute husband and he loves me, and that's it. Is that really it for everybody who's watching? Is that really it? Is that all that you want from a relationship, from a marriage? If that's all you're staying for, I to be honest, I don't know. Maybe you can tell us what is that enough? Just knowing they don't show you love, but just knowing that they love you, and you can't even be real with yourself that you're unhappy. Before I get into my stuff, Eddie, I thought you had run away. You didn't want to. You didn't want to answer the question.
So let me answer your question in a sort of a different way, right? If I was to be giving advice to someone who is sort of thinking that they are in a toxic sort of relationship, right? And they are feeling as if they are in a pit, because that's where exactly you would be. You're in a dark hole and you don't really know what to do next, right?
Right.
So I would say there is no harm in looking for help before you hit the road. There is no harm in looking for help, but the help that you look for, this is where it becomes a little bit bigger. The story becomes a little bit bigger in the sense that when you look for help, you need to know, number one, who are you asking for help from, right? You need to trust that person that is giving, that you're asking help from. So I'm not an advocate. Yes, I've been divorced for a couple of years now, but I'm not an advocate for divorce. I'm not an advocate for separation. I'm not an advocate for broken down marriages and relationships. I'm actually an advocate for people to build the relationships. You know, that is me. I prefer that people build relationships. So before you, the moment that you see that this relationship is becoming a little bit toxic, find a way to fix it, right? Find a way to fix it. So a couple of weeks ago, I learned something very, very cool. A line that says, do not quit when you're in the pit, right? Or when you're in the pit, don't quit, right? So don't give up on that relationship. Don't give up on that marriage. It could be toxic, but is it something that can be fixed? If it can be fixed, then fix it. Find a way to fix it. Don't just say, oh man, shit, it didn't work out, so I'm hitting for the hills and you're running away. You know, if you can fix it, try find a way to fix it. And only when you get to like a deadlock and there is no meeting of the minds, there is no connection in what you're talking about, or you no longer have the same vision and the same goal, then I would probably say, yes, that is your time to leave. You know, don't wait for a fight. Don't wait for violence to happen. Don't wait until it's becoming like you are in a point where you dread to come back home and you just can't find a reason to be in your marriage, you know. But that's where issues such as an accountability partner comes into place. Do you have people that you speak to? Do you have someone who speaks something positive into your life before you run away? You know, try fix what is broken. You know, whatever that is broken, if it can be fixed, then fix it. If it can't come together, then yes, then you can let go. So I think I do answer your question. When you find that you can't fix it, when you can't fix it, then it's become toxic.
So
Then
you
it's
are
up to you.
definitely just taking us back, and there's someone who's itching to oppose you, I think. Rumbidza, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, and now I didn't want to oppose him. No, I thought of something as you were speaking. I didn't want to oppose him, and I
Okay,
think it's
good. Thank
something
you.
you and you mentioned that just got me thinking that you know what, this is something that since we are putting ourselves out there, neglected to look at. You know, you said something, and I'm not sure if it's you or Ed who said that. Is it enough that he says he loves me and doesn't show it? I just remembered that as I was dating, actually, as I was dating, I had moments where I had my red flags. Like you asked now, was it enough that he said it? You would say it, and one would justify the partner's actions. Or you cannot do this for me because of the situation that he's in. Or you cannot do etc. because of ABCD. So I'm gonna, ignore that. I remember one time I strongly used to say, not to the other person, but I would say things like "Munarambiro rombo." That was me justifying even actions of showing me that he loves me. Or my love language is gifts. I think most ladies receiving gifts is up there. So I would say things like, yeah, it's my birthday, but I haven't received a gift in the whole time we're married. I think I only received a birthday gift twice in the 8 years that I was married. And I would justify that by saying, but I don't have a rich partner. But then I would think later on, when I was being honest with myself at a later stage after I was out of the pit, was like, but really, my birthday is in October. If you really wanted to show me, to understand that Trumbi loves getting flowers, you would have saved a 10 rand from the beginning of the month. And when we get to October, I get a bunch of flowers. So sometimes I feel like we don't we as a person first, before we get together with the other person, we ignore the red flags. They are there in the dating phase, but we think things will get better. We think marriage is just going to come in there and fix it. So yeah, I tend to forget. That's why I just wanted to put it out there that the red flags are always there. We choose when we want to start concentrating on them, and that's a bad thing.
Yeah. Okay. So double clicking on what you're saying, Rumbi, just confront, call a spade a spade. If a person is making you feel sad because they're not showing you love in your love language and you've communicated and it's not happening, it's making you sad, make sure it's communicated. Because I feel like even sometimes when a relationship becomes toxic, Ed, I agree with you. I'm not an advocate for divorce. If you can fix it, we did the first live with Gamo to say you can fix it, own up to your part, and make sure you don't get to where it's now the end of the road. But when you get to the end of the road, you have to be really real with yourself. You have to make sure that a spade is a spade, because sometimes you can have an honest conversation and everyone can say sure, I also am no longer there because you pushed me too far, and that would be fine. But the thing is, we are all trying to save face. We are all trying to do things for the family. We are trying to do things for the community. So, and God hates divorce, so we don't want to actually think about the fact that separation might be the best thing. And sometimes it could be separation that you need, not an actual divorce, but a separation to go out there and find who you are and decide whether you can come back together. But the fact that someone is trying to hold on and there's a rift there, you then end up actually worsening the situation. This is how I feel. Gamo, are you better now at answering the question, or should we just skip to the next one?
All right, let me see if I can get it this time around. Well, I'll come from a totally different angle altogether when it comes to when to let go, because I would probably say, because of how things were happening in our situation, I was more on the side of now chasing up with a relationship with someone that had already checked out. Okay. So you guys are coming from a point where you are the ones that have checked out. Now I'm coming from a point of you are with somebody that has already checked out and you're now trying to find them and win them back. Right? So
Too
for
late.
me,
Sorry.
too late. So sorry. Don't get me started. But yeah, you're at that point where it's already too late, and anything else that you try, anything else that you say, they're probably looking at you and they're saying, you know what, I think that would work for the next person that's going to be in your life. And those are certain things that you keep hearing over and over again. But when did I then decide it's time to let go? For me, I was never ready to let it go, right? And it got to a point that I even told my partner then was, if you then get to a point where you send me the paperwork and you have signed it, only then will I then say, okay, fine, this is done. I'm going to stop trying. Okay. But in all this time, I kept trying as much as I could. And you need to realize that there are certain times when you're trying to solve a situation and you are overdoing it, you then kind of start messing up a whole lot more things in you trying to fix things. So I then got to that point where the papers got sent over and I'm sitting back, and I even got to call back and I'm saying, you know what? Do you remember that I told you that if you send me the paperwork, this and this, this is where it stops? It's like, yes, I know and I'm sure. Then that's the time that I had to now start learning to say, you know what? Let go and start moving on. But it's not an easy process now, because you're now coming from a point where you still want this person. You still put in as much effort as you can. And now, where does the toxicity come from? I wish you'd have found a synonym for that word, because this word is going to be killing me the whole conversation. But anyway, where do I find that toxicity in my situation is where you are now holding on to every little thing that this person says. So they can be having a general conversation with you, but because you still have hope in this thing working or something happening that they will reconsider coming back, whatever they say, you hold on to it and you start thinking, maybe they're changing their mind. Maybe they're coming together, they're coming back to it again. But now that is damaging, because they in their mind and in their setting, okay, we've talked about this dude, I told you, you're out of my life, you're gone, I'm moving on. So having a conversation with you is just a general conversation. But now when you then call me and you tell me, you know what, I'm going through something. Are you able to pray with me? Are you able to do this for me? Are you able? And I'm thinking, oh, okay, fine. We're getting back to working things again. You're giving yourself false hope on little things. It becomes more dangerous because now you're going in a totally different direction. By the time they come back to reminding you again that, dude, I said goodbye and I clearly said it, I clearly stated it. Now it
Yeah.
hurts all over again. But you then need to get to a point where you yourself, as an individual, hear the message to say the person has checked out, they have left the building. I now need to know that it's time to clear their office that they occupied, whether it's going to be for the next person that's going to be coming in, which I'm pretty sure it will take time because there's a lot that happens, especially when you fight for something that is already left. Now, for you to bounce back from that and get into something else, that's another topic for a different day, but that's another process on its own. But for
Right.
me, I'm coming from that point where you are saying, when do you? It is now at that point where you decide, okay, this person is gone. You now need to start listening to the message that they are saying. Hear them, not what you want to hope for, but hear what they are actually telling you that, dude, I'm gone. You're now by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that is so profound, Gamu. I mean, that is an angle that Rumbi just then brought up now, because for women, someone in the comment section said women check out emotionally way before they start showing it physically, right?
Yeah.
And the good thing is when they start showing it physically, they tell you, right? They emotionally, I can attest to that. I checked out emotionally way before I could say it. I knew that there was something off, and I started thinking or dreaming about a life outside this, where I was like, oh, I could be alone right now doing this. Like I could dream about this. I could go into my mind, and yeah. And I mean, there's certain times where I think my partner would see it, and then they would just randomly say, "You think you can do better than me?" Like I do this, I do this, I do this, right? Because they can see or sense it, but you are not
Yeah.
saying it yet.
Yeah.
But you when women get to that point of saying I've checked out, best believe they took the time to think
Think
about
about it.
everything, and they've tried everything that they think humanly possible
True.
to save that thing, right?
Yeah.
However, I feel men, when they check out, this is just me, I'm going to ask Eddie to respond to that. They don't say that they have checked out. They want you to, because there's this whole belief of Urambem Kadzi, or you don't dump a girl. I think even in I have heard it like in high school, Kuti, what kind of a nigga are you? Do you dump a girl? You let her dump you. So they sort of
Right.
act it out, right? And then women, we refuse to see that this nigga has checked out.
Yeah.
And then eventually we think we have done the divorcing, but then this guy left ages ago. Before I let Rumbi confirm this, Eddie, what do you think?
So somewhat kind of agree and disagree at the same time, but it
Okay.
also it also boils down to the fact that it also boils down to the fact that for men, we are not always vocally, we don't always communicate vocally, right? We don't want to admit certain things. We don't want to admit defeat. We don't want to admit that we have failed, right?
Yep.
Right.
So you can agree to your partner or admit to your partner to say, hey, listen, man, I've done messed it up. How can I fix it? Right? And checking out for a man, the reason why they won't probably check out is also another issue to do with pride. You're proud to check out because you're looking at what is everyone gonna say? What is everyone gonna, how are they going to look at me? What are they going to say when they hear that when they hear that I left my marriage, or when they hear that I left my wife. But it's all comes down to making the decision and swallowing your pride to say, let me fix what needs to be fixed, or yes, I have failed. There was a point earlier that I just wanted to address, or just that I wanted to touch on. I think it was Rumbizai who talked about it. Um, and I don't quite remember what it was, but my response around that was around communication again, and your actual intention when you are getting into a relationship or getting into a marriage. You both need to know exactly what you're getting into. You probably, or I'm not speaking directly to you, Rumbidzai, but I'm so speaking to the people that are probably watching this or listening to say, you need to know yourself. Why are you getting into this relationship? Right? Why are you getting into this relationship? And why is she or why is he getting into this relationship and getting into this marriage? Do they understand what marriage is? Do they understand the different topics around respect, around love? Do they understand topics around submission? All of that stuff. Do they really have a full understanding of those topics before they got into it? So you find yourself, you're in the marriage now, and you get certain surprises, and you're like, no, you didn't tell me about that. No, you
Yeah.
didn't ask.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You didn't ask. You didn't do your research. You didn't know that this guy is like this because you ignored the red flags. You know what I mean? You talked about red flags earlier. There are always red flags everywhere. But sometimes we're so blinded with love, which could be misinterpreted for infatuation. You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
think that you are in love, but you're just basically infatuated. You found a dude or you found a girl that is like, wow, your dream kind of girl.
Cute, 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 cute.
Exactly. but, but it's not blending with your agenda. You must have yourself and life's agenda of where you're coming and going. And if that
Yeah.
new chick, new dude is coming into your life, if their agenda is not blending with yours, are you able to blend it? Are you able to compromise it? If it doesn't work out on both, then don't get into it.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
get into it. So
So
yeah, I'll leave it.
So Eddie says, guys sometimes don't do it intentionally to say, I have checked out, but I want you to dump me. It's just because they're fighting themselves. They really don't want to give in. So, gentlemen, it's time for you to be honest with yourselves too, because self-love is for everybody. You have to also to admit that this wife is not the wife that you thought she was, because you ignored the red flags that this slay queen can only slay.
That is not a
She's not
queen.
about the life that that you thought she would be giving you. She doesn't want to become the mother or the family woman that you envisioned. So you have to make peace with that. And if that means that you have to go your separate ways, sometimes you have to man up, because society will always say whatever it will say. But at the end of the day, we do have our own lives to live, and there is life after divorce. That's the next topic, by the way. Rumbi, I was going
Yeah.
to say, are you going to corroborate my thoughts, or the fact that sometimes someone is checked out and you just weren't looking at the signs?
Yeah, I can totally double click on that because I believe that's what happened in my case. Dude checked out long before I did. I just refused to see it. I would justify his actions. I would tell myself that no, the marriage is getting older, so probably things like this happened. And since I've already put it out there. We never had the hard talks. Like what Ed is
Yeah.
saying, we never sat down to say, you know what, you want to get married. The silliest, it's not silly, but the simplest example that I can give was that we never talked about how many kids we wanted to have. I've
Right.
always wanted 3 children. Dude wanted one child. So even when we got married, it was like, oh yeah, so we have a child, we done. I'm like, no, I still want kids. And I ended up being okay with one child because now I want to, again, keep the perfect picture. He wants one child. Okay, fine. This is my marriage. I have to do what I can to, just chengetes are it. So it's, yet there are signs, simple signs, things that we used to do together that he had stopped doing with me and started doing with other people. I would then tell myself that, no, what, I'm now a housewife. We can be going out to party together. I mean, he was a DJ. I love to dance. I think I can. That's where we met anyway.
Just putting it out there.
At a friend's party. So we used to
Should have
those were
kept dancing.
I'm not gonna go there. But I mean, as much as we had not had the hard talks, there are things that I knew we liked doing together. So even when those things stopped, I had reasons for that. I gave myself reasons for that. I have to stay home. I have to be a mom. I have to be a wife. But he was already out there doing them with with other people. So I was like, I think if we're going to look at toxicity, oh, Angie, this word, at toxicity,
You're not alone.
yes, I think in all honesty, I might have been toxic to myself more than the other person because I was lying to myself for the longest time. I was telling myself that things were okay. I was telling myself that, you know what, there are reasons why he's doing this. He loves me. But dude had checked out. I think he had checked out. And even when, you know, that one moment, and this is something that I think most ladies would do. Okay, at least I did that. I looked him square in the eye. I wanted you to tell me that I've messed up, Rumbi. I've drawn the final, I don't know, straw or whatever, but I love you. And dude is like, you know what? I love you both. I mean, that was just his nice way of saying, I can't tell you that I don't love you anymore, but I love this other woman as well. So sometimes guys, I believe guys sometimes cannot just, you know, be blunt about it, but they'll be showing you signs. And sometimes we just don't want to acknowledge the signs, but he was gone.
Well, Rumbi, thank you for being candid and being honest because yes, the dude did show you 1,000 times, and you know,
And you know
from the outside, us friends, us family, we can see it. We're like, but girl, uh, you
Can
can
you know,
you
not
take a
take
hint?
it to yourself, but
this
like,
actually makes it hard for me. Like I said earlier, it makes it hard for me to speak to people in my position who are now where I was before because I'm now seeing what you guys were seeing. And remember how also I did not see it when you were telling me that, Rumbi, we're having a work function and it's 8 p.m. and your person is at home. He doesn't even wonder how you're going to get home. Are you sure this is, you know? So now when I tell the next person that, you know what, I've been there, this signs, my guy, your person is checked out. It more like comes from, like, I like how you guys said we don't advocate for divorce. I've written a blog about it. I don't hate divorce, but then I would explain why. Sometimes you see your friend, you see a person just trying to, I know that I've been there. I've held on to a dead end. And the guy was like, okay, if you want to hold on to that dead end, hold on, I'm just going to be over here living my life. So sometimes we're toxic to ourselves more than we're even toxic to the other person.
right. So Rumbi, we'll get back to that point. I know Ed has to jump off, so I just wanted to ask Ed for some parting words from his story. I
Yeah,
still have
yeah.
Kev here and Rumbi to go on
Absolutely.
because this we have barely sketched the surface. So
I
Ed,
know.
last words.
Yeah, yeah.
Any other
So,
toxicity that we need
yeah.
to know that you know all about?
So it's really not about the toxicity that I want to continue on. I want to look at it from a more positive way and most probably sort of expand and ask viewers and listeners to really consider. So before you get into any relationship with another person or with a company, you have your T's and C's written in small print. You need to know about those.
Yeah.
Before you join X company to go for a new employer, you need to know what that employer is about. You need to know that are they financially sustainable? Are they going to help you grow in your career? Are they going to support you as an employee, as an individual as well? Because it's not about them only making money, but they also need to grow you as a person, you know?
Right.
And when you go to an interview, you go into that interview room and you say to yourself, I know myself. I know what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to tell them about my academics, what I've studied and what I've done, right? So that they take me in. And I think it's a similar thing when it comes to a relationship before you even get to a marriage. You need to know yourself first, like what Rumbidzai said earlier, that you may think that the relationship is toxic or the next person is toxic. Meanwhile, it's you that is toxic, but you
Yeah.
just don't know it. You just don't know yourself. You are the one that's toxic in the relationship. and you're trying to mirror it on the next person because you don't want to admit for yourself what's going on and who you are as a person. So if you know that you cannot stand certain things about the next person or the partner that you're with, you must not get into a relationship with that person because you're going to suffocate them in that relationship. If that person is an outgoing person and you're not, I mean, really, even if they're cute from earth to wherever, you know, you don't have to get into it. Rumbi, I'm not directly.
At least
No,
it's not
it's
me.
for everyone. It's
At
for
least it's not
everyone.
me. I'm
And
quiet. I never even said the word. I'm
just to put
quiet.
it out there, I was very young and stupid. Okay, yes,
No, no,
cuteness wasn't
no.
admitted then.
Ah,
Okay,
dude, it doesn't matter how old you are. Cuteness does make you feel weird.
so those are things that you need to check out for. I mean, I've read a book about the five love languages, and we all know about that topic about the five love languages, right? And if
Yeah,
you know about the topics about the five love languages, that's very important. You need to know what makes your dude or what makes your girl tick. You need to know that before you even get into that relationship. And even yourself, you need to know that who are you? What makes you tick? What are your love languages? What comes at the top of your list and what comes at the bottom of your list? And if
right.
those love languages don't blend with the next person, I wouldn't say go ahead with it, no matter how good you feel around that person. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's what I
yeah.
would say. Yeah, that's my
Okay,
parting
Eddie,
words.
before you go, the next question for everyone, you're going to just say answer and leave.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
why did you stay when you knew it was dead? Your reason, one
So
or two.
So for me, in my situation, I stayed in it because I believe in, firstly, I believe in marriage. That's first number one thing. I believe in relationships and I loved my wife at that time. You know what I mean? So that's why I
Right.
stayed in it. I did everything that I could do that was in my power to try and save the marriage. I did everything that I could until I realized, hey, you know what? I'm actually pushing for something that is not going to work. Like you said, she had checked out or he had checked out, right? And I did what I could, but unfortunately, it did not work. That's why I stayed in that relationship. It was a good time that we had when we was married, but it then came to an end in the way that it came to, which was the divorce,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Thank you. It was such an honor to have you on the show, Eddie.
Thank you.
Kev, now it's
Yes.
your turn. You can go on and
Love.
on and on. Cheers, Eddie.
uh,
Okay. Tell
well,
us
actually,
why. So you had already sort of started telling us some of the reasons or your story in terms of why you were trying to hang on, right? But
yeah.
I'm trying to actually figure out why you were actually trying to hang on, and if you can break it down for us, that would be great.
Um, so I would really love to believe I'm one of those suckers for love.
Okay.
So I once I commit to one person, it's that person. And for me, I had totally devoted myself to this. Now, what made things a bit more worse or weird for me when I now start playing everything back is you get stuck. For some people that are very prayerful, right? You get stuck in, I know if I pray for things, God will answer my prayers, right? Now, let's look at it this way, go all the way back before we even got married. We're talking about our stories. So we had obviously our discussions, our T's and C's, where we talked about the number of kids that we're going to have. So we
Oh,
would always be playing back and forth, chatting about the kids. And funny enough, we actually had Junior in our heads before we got married. And then by the time we got married, we actually had Junior first, and then the princess then came along. But for us, we that's something that we already talked about and prayed about. And the order of kids was going to be, first it's going to be a boy, and then next it's going to be a girl. Now, play it in your head now. You've prayed about this situation, you've prayed about this marriage. There's certain things that you even prayed about coming into play, or certain things coming to light are actually happening.
Yeah.
So now you're asking yourself, which part of this then did not make sense, or which part of this then should end in a divorce? When we've prayed about almost everything and most of the things are coming into play.
Right.
But this is where I then learn as a person where things went wrong. I think I still do stand to be corrected by other people. But look, in my situation and in my head, I think the issue came about when you love someone so much, but you don't know how to show them that you love them that much. So I could love you to the extent that I can take a bullet for you anytime, any day, without even thinking twice. I can love you so much that I can even decide that, look, we have lost everything. Maybe even if it is, let's say, a bad business decision that you made, I could not be bothered. I'm one person that can start all over again. Look, we get things, we lose things. That's my mentality, right? But then you get to a point where you can love that person to that extent, but you don't know how to show it. It then comes back to the whole love languages thing. You could probably know about the love languages, but have you taken the time to actually understand what your partner's love language is? And within that love language, what exactly do they hear in that love language? So you could know that, you know what, my partner has got an expensive taste. My partner is a huge spender. But the question is, in you knowing it, how do you fit into that equation of being their partner in their love language and making sense in their love language?
Right.
Which is where I now look back and I'm saying the younger me back then had no clue what the hell I was getting myself into. For me, just the fact that I love you, the fact that I can call you, the fact that we can talk about anything and everything, the fact that I can go on my knees to pray about something that I know you are driving at, something that you're fighting for. I can try and pull left, right, and center to bring everything back together just for you. But there are certain things that go just beyond that.
Yeah.
Now, because you're a guy, there are things that you have to do as a husband. The things that you have to do as a father of the home. Now, if you don't get to switch that on and you stay in the boyfriend and girlfriend phase, look, I know we say it's easier to maintain our relationships. Yes, even if we're married, if you keep the fire burning of the boyfriend and girlfriend thing, it goes on. But there's certain things in a marriage that boyfriend and girlfriend titles don't work, or they won't. Because as boyfriend and girlfriend, I can talk to you, and at some point in time, you're going back to your mother's house.
Yeah.
I can be upset with you right now. We're not going to talk for the next 3-4 hours because you're at your mother's house. I'm at my mother's house, right? But when you're in a marriage, hello, time to go to bed. You're going to be in the same bed. You do not want this person to even touch you with their feet when they are turning. Not that they're turning to touch you, but they are just turning on their own. You're so upset with them that you don't even want them to touch you as they turn. So there's a lot that then goes on that we then miss, well, that I missed as a guy, to say there's a whole lot more that I needed to be. There's a switch that I never managed to switch on, which is where I then got it wrong. And the reason why I held on for so long is because you love this person deeply, but you don't understand what you are not becoming and what you are not being for that marriage to work out.
Yo, my friend, I like your long answers.
I'm sorry, I told you never give a preacher the microphone.
no, I mean, like it opened up a whole lot of other things that we obviously needed to hear, to be honest. And yes, it's for me, it makes more sense now for to hear you say this. Like if I was to put it in my situation and say, this is why I always believed that my partner didn't stop loving me. So one would ask, does he not love you? To be honest with you, if I had stayed, or if I had thought that being loved is the only reason why it's something that stops you from getting divorced, then I would still be in the
Yeah.
marriage. Do you get what I mean? So
Yeah.
I believe and I know. Oh, okay, fine. I can't say I know now, but then I felt I knew that my partner
Yeah.
loved me, and
Yeah.
that wasn't the reason why we got divorced. It was more to do with exactly what you're saying, that you say you love me and I believe you, but you don't know how to love me. What you're dishing out is actually, for
Saying something
me,
else.
the opposite. So I keep trying to tell you, I keep trying to explain to you that you think you're loving me, but it's
But
hitting
it's
me
not.
the wrong way, and you're not
Yeah.
changing, and you insist on keeping doing the same thing, and it's just not
Mm.
working for me. So
Mm.
I'm not going to divorce you because you don't love me, but because I love me. So I am glad that you picked that up, and understand that you stayed in the relationship for that. For my side, I stayed in the relationship because I honestly also was a sucker for love, or I am a sucker for love. I still have the faith that love wins, but there's also, like you said, God hates divorce. That verse really kept me in place. I had friends who had divorced, and I'd seen that I mean, there is life after divorce. So it wasn't about, I'm afraid what will happen. I wasn't really afraid of the stigma, although, of course, there is the stigma. But I really had this picture of forever after with my cute man. And the plan was amazing. And in my head, it was amazing. The picture of it was amazing. Like Rumbi, nobody else knew what was going on behind closed doors, because I was also able to hide it very well. But at the end of the day, it was more important for me to be okay than for me to hold on to the picture or the dream. And when I actually made the prayer, the last final prayer, and said, God, what do I do? He gave me the peace, knowing that my person loves me,
That
knowing that
hurts.
I want to
That
be happy.
hurts. You saying and you telling me that you prayed and you got peace. Hey, that hurt. Trust me, I heard that statement, and it hurts.
Well,
I'm like, but what? Which God are you praying to? Because I'm also praying to the same God, and I'm saying, God, I need this person, and He's saying to me,
didn't you see
this is my daughter.
this meme where there's a lion and what's it called? Yeah, and there's two
And
different
dear,
prayers.
two
God
different
save
prayers
me,
going
God give
on.
me food. Yeah, so my God answered me, and so there's going to be conflict there, but obviously, yeah. So Rumbi, you have already given us a glimpse of why you stayed. One of the reasons was he was cute.
I'm never gonna hear the end of this, right?
It's not me. At least it's not me today.
Tell us
Oh,
more.
okay. All right. Yeah, you was cute, and we also had beautiful children. So yeah. But anyway, on a serious note, right? I believed that you would change. I believed strongly that my love for him would make him see the light. I kept giving and giving, and in my head, I told myself, "This is how I can teach him to love me. Let me love him more. Let me do for him things that I wish he would do for me, and he
Hashtag
will."
relatable.
Yes. And eventually, in the long run, he's going to learn. He will learn that I want to be, okay, held. I want to cuddle. I want to receive gifts. I want a birthday cake on my birthday. So let me do these things for him. And in Shona, they say, "Viriri no tenderera." So I believed that at one point, things would turn. And this guy is just going to be exactly how I envisioned him to be like. And I don't want to say, I know this is what most people say, but I just want to say I never stayed for the children. I'm one, okay, I had one child and I was pregnant at the time. My
Yeah.
kids are actually one of the reasons why I decided to let go. Because I remember writing about this on my blog, and I did not, like I said earlier, I did not like the woman that the situation was turning me into. I did not want to be that mom, a bitter mom. I did not want to have this conversation with my daughters, I don't know, 20 years down the line, and I would tell them to let go of a toxic relationship, and they'll be like, but you are still in one. You stayed in yours. So my children are actually one of the reasons why I was like, no, man, I need to be able to be in a situation where I'll teach my children differently. It doesn't matter if the world is gonna be against me or whatever people are going to think. For the sake of my kids and for loving me, I got to a point where I was like, Rumbi, is this what you want? Is this you above? Yes, this is what you might have thought in a relationship kind of view, but is it all there is to a Rumbi? What do you want to be? And I remember I had one incident where I said to my ex-husband, you know what? I've always wanted to be a lawyer. And he said to me, had you been a lawyer, I would not have married you. And I said, but I still want to go to school. And, that was me. That was the Rumbi. Rumbi wants to be an academic. Rumbi wants to explore. I've always known that I'm intelligent. And I'm sitting here with someone who won't even either. And I don't know, this mentality that we have in the marriage, like, I think it is. I mean, we'll talk about submission on another day. I somehow felt like he had to allow me to go back to university. He had to allow me to be this Rumbi that I've always wanted to be. And I didn't want to outshine him as well. So him not being this academic person and not being all that, I kind of had to dim my light so that he doesn't feel like I'm trying to show him. So I think I believed, I held on for so long because I thought he was going to change. He was going to become the person that I've always thought you can be. And I saw a question that you put up, Angie. Where do I think I went wrong? It was that, right? It said, where do you guys think you went wrong?
So yeah, I was going to actually say we did have we'll go around again when we close to talk about that. We did the first episode, or the first the episode of this series was about us owning up to what we did wrong in the relationship, and I think this viewer had not actually seen it. So what we'll do is, after we get into the comments and engage the viewers, we'll just wrap up and say what we did, just a brief summary of what we did, our part in it, and then we can close. So Kev, I know you've got some people on IG watching that are commenting.
Yeah.
What are they saying?
So we've got quite a lot of people. I'll just say the first few that are just there, so that, because the list goes on and on.
Okay.
Cami Fox is online. Slender Nella. Hi guys. Snazo. Ashley Marks. KDF. Constance. Polished Ruth. Clivet. And then Clivet has got quite a number of comments right there. So I think it was a time when we were talking about getting to understand the T's and C's, when Eddie was talking about the T's and C's. And the red flags. So her first comment was red flags. Red flags. Sometimes we just get addicted and it's hard to let go. And then she says, I'll then draw up NDA, SLAs. I'll start drawing up contracts and have interviews before I get married to anybody.
No, but definitely that's it. We did have a show. Remember, we talked about it. If you take the time to find an employee, like when you're a manager, you take the time to find the best fit. Why don't you do that for yourself to find the best fit for you? You have to do the interview phase, like even 3 interviews, even, or 5 or 10.
So it's like some of us are here to heal the toxic people that we survived, and probably healing for the next person. So we hope that this is actually helping the discussion that we're having. My love language is physical touch, but you end up with someone that doesn't even want to be doesn't want you to be clingy. Then the comment, I stayed because all the rights that could possibly ever take the wrong, but if it's not there, then you tried. So she's like, I had to continue just trying, so that by the time I leave, at least I know I can say I tried. We love that. And then I think the other point was, we love the idea of love. And sometimes it then gets us to go even extra miles that we shouldn't be going. But just because we love the idea of love, or love the idea of what we thought it was going to be, that's how we then end up sticking up longer than sometimes we should. I think that's about it from IG.
To the person who just said about who talked about trying, like you keep trying, you keep trying.
Yeah.
I think I can relate to that. However, my trying was from outside, because remember, I did not want to be in that toxic environment anymore. But even when after I had packed his bags and I told him, you know what, if you can sort this out, we can start over. Like, I was willing to start over, but I feel like yes, we need to try. I mean, I understand that feeling of having I did what I could. So for
Yeah.
me, it was more like I've excused myself from the toxic relationship. I want to give him space to,
Yeah.
think over, does he want to be with me? Does he want to be with his family and all that? But it has to get to a certain point where I was like, you know what? I tried. I've waited. Actually, for me, it was more like I've waited, and
Yeah.
dude is not coming back. I need to start the process of healing, because the moment you keep on dragging on as you are waiting or you are trying, you're not allowing yourself to heal, because you have hope that it's gonna be
That's what will
fine.
happen. Yeah.
I love how you guys got prayer into this, and I wanted to say this. Sorry, I'm saying it now.
Yeah.
And G and Gamu, you said God hates divorce, right? So this is what I've told myself, and this is what happened with me. Um, so I never involved God before I got married. I went out there, acted on my feelings, on my whatnot. Never did I ever kneel down and say, God, what is your plan for me? Which is something that I'm glad I've learned now. And with the interviews and everything, I'm taking God first into everything now. So I never did that with the first marriage. I just went out there, found my person, then now dragged him to God. I'm like, God, so I've got this cute guy, can you make it work? So
Approve
it was,
this.
yes, approve this. So for me, it gives me comfort that, you know what, sometimes we say God hates divorce. We want to enforce that on other people, yet we don't know if God ever approved of that relationship to begin with. I
Yeah.
think when we use that verse that says God hates divorce, it's, for me, that is, I stand to be corrected. It's on a relationship that God has ordained. Most of us, we drag it's just like how your child will bring a snake in the house and it bites him. You're not gonna say, keep it, my child, because it's a snake. You're gonna tell him to take it out and we try again for a different pet. So yeah, enjoy your back. You can take your seat, ma'am.
So Rumbi, everything that you guys have been saying is so amazing. Rumbi, for that verse as well, for anyone who's listening who might be holding on because of that verse, what the revelation that came to me, yes, I did the prayer and got the peace, but the revelation that also came to me was, in out of context, that verse is actually like, do not ever get divorced. But if you read the whole chapter, it's
Yeah.
describing
Mhm.
the marriage that God then says, if you divorce a person who's doing this, then
Mm.
I hate it. Do you get what I
Mm.
mean? So all those conditions have to be met. So God is not an unreasonable father who's just going to say, I hate divorce, but even if you're being abused, stay there just because I hate divorce. He described, that verse describes what a marriage should be. And if you find yourself wanting to divorce somebody where all those things are there, you are just a greedy person. You're just an adulterous person. And therefore, God is going to hate your decision to move away or choose another wife. But when those things are not being met, and this is the kind of situation that we are having, we are actually not meeting these godly marriages that God then says stay in and don't move. So I really like the also the issue about red flags being there in the beginning, and us wanting to live this fantasy life, creating all these dreams and in our minds, and not involving God right in the beginning. It's important for people that haven't gotten to these situations to do that. Gamo has 2 points. He wants to talk about Rumbi. You were talking about approval, how you were waiting for your husband to approve of your studies or the next things that you're going to do, because probably you didn't know yourself, or you weren't so confident, or maybe you misunderstood submission. Gamu, what do you have to say? And I think you've got an issue also on praying. And then after that, we'll just wrap up with a few comments from Facebook, and we can summarize with where did we go wrong in the beginning, for the benefit of those that didn't watch the first episode.
Okay. All right. So in relation to the whole approval thing, so it's actually funny that I know people probably think that it's only women that seek approval from their husbands. What you need to realize is, I'll speak for myself. I had this notion of, or this idea where if I'm saying my partner is my equal partner, what I thought of doing, I would check in with, right? What I then realized way later on is I depended too much on her agreeing or her giving me the nod to say, yeah, that's a good idea, such that I would not then act on things that I want or the things that I've thought of. Now, what did that do? It created a person that's too dependent on their partner. So now you're looking at me and you're thinking, but dude, you are the man of the house, you are the husband, you are supposed to be making some of these decisions on your own. There's certain things that you would think of, I want to start doing this. Can you think about it, process it, get to do it on your own? Can you then not just come back to me every other time? You know what, I'm thinking of doing this. And yes, you can come to me to bounce off ideas. But at times there is that security that a woman kind of like gets when you then do certain things. Look, I know it would be a very hot topic or a pain point for a lot of people. But there are certain things that there's a certain extent that I would say, be dependent on your partner. Be dependent on running certain things, or be selective of the things that you're going to run. Now, don't get me wrong when I'm saying be selective of the things that you run, because I know
getting you wrong.
I can see that all of you are already picking up in the wrong way altogether. But when it comes to, let's say, plans that you have to better your family or to better the way that you provide for your family, there is also a level of being the husband or being the man that comes with you, at least making certain decisions to say, you know what, I've started this business. Let it run down to the ground. Like, okay, fine, you know what, I failed. But you can be seen to be doing something with yourself, and you're making up decisions by yourself. I know. But the thing is, the reason why
I
I'm
agree
bringing
with you, but I just wanted to add something. I want to ask you a question before you go on.
Okay, so the reason why I'm bringing it up is because of this. You will then fall into a trap of becoming too dependent of getting your partner's approval, that you don't get to do anything without somebody else being a soundboard, without somebody else confirming that, yes, try it out. So there's certain things that you will bring to the table. Okay, try it out. Let's see if it works out. If it doesn't work out, well, it doesn't work out. But now you become this dependent person to say, I can't even make up my own mind to say, should I start a business or should I not? But there's certain things that you need to do. Yes, as partners, there's certain huge things that you need to approve on. I can't be taking money out of the bank account, going to spend 10,000 rands in investing in a business that will probably give us returns in the next 3 years. Yet we've got rent that's coming up and there's no other income that's coming in. Those are things that we need to then sit down and discuss. Look, how do we go about this? Should we not? Is the timing correct? Is the timing not right? And then the last thing before you get to you, Ange, the praying thing. This is one thing that I've learned, and it's something that I know I need to keep in practice for the next in this relationship or in the next relationship. I know Ruby's looking at me, is like, did you just confirm you're in a relationship? No, did you not?
With this relationship,
I'll keep you guessing. You got me right. But the point that I want to make is this: it's a huge thing to pray about your partner. Mm-hmm. You're in a relationship. It's a big thing to pray for them when you know what you need to cover them for. Mm-hmm. But it's even a bigger thing when you then pray with them.
Right.
You need to then get to the point where you can now say, can we hold hands and let's pray?
Okay.
So look, we're not just. I know there are a lot of other people with different religions that probably looking at or watching this, but you know what you guys do in your religion, you know. But if you're not practicing, I'll speak from a Christian point of view because I am a Christian, right? But if you're not praying with your partner, because I've figured this out, praying with your partner with them there, you get to hear where they are, either spiritually or what exactly their concerns are.
Yeah.
There is no way that you're going to be praying about wanting 200 rands in your prayer when you know that you're talking to God. You're never going to be sending fake prayers up there. Eh? You're really going to be saying what you're wishing for. Eh? So let's pray about these things. Look,
Just omit the other things. You just pray about
you know,
food.
they might just choose to omit them, but you know what? At least you get an idea of where's my person spiritually, where's my person, what is really on their heart, what is it that's making them cry in their prayers, type of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Let's get used to that.
No, Gamu, I wanted actually to agree with you on the approval thing. I think we need to remain individuals in relationships, right? And we need to, when we are partnership, we actually get to a point where we trust each other with to run with some things, right? And I believe also in the way that God described marriages, where the man is the head and the woman is going to be going to submit to her husband. Not that men don't submit; they submit as Christ submitted for their wives, right? For the church, right? So what that just basically means is you can come already convicted in this is where I want to take my family as the head of the family, but you come with it to your wife, and your wife could disagree, but you can disagree, you can agree to disagree and still do it as the head of the family. And that is where I wanted to just point out that it's not a matter of then I'm just going to run with it without telling her, but it's a matter of yes, I'll bring it to the table, but I might already be convicted. So meaning that I can actually deliberate before I bring the issue to her. Whereas what you were describing was someone who doesn't even ideate before they get to them because they're waiting for their person's approval. And I feel like I can relate to that. And I think that a lot of men might benefit from hearing what you've just said. We are way over time because we talk a lot, and I think I'm not going to bring you guys together. I'm just going to bring one at a time because there's no way I can get the wealth of wisdom that all of you have without actually going over time. So I don't want to have not engaged our people. So I just want to mention Nedi, who was here, Priscilla Zengeni was here. We had Dandara online saying this is a good show. Someone said I can relate. This was Rumbi who was talking at the time, and when Eddie was talking, they said they can relate to the extrovert thing. I think it's real big in these circles. And I think that there's also an issue of let's just hear what this one was saying. It's difficult because the moment a man says I like you, we are already seeing ourselves his wife and mother to his kids. So this is where Rumbi was talking about a template that she had, and especially if the guy is cute, it's like everything fits in already, and we don't take time to discover what we want and do the T's and C's. And I mean, Mary was here, she was laughing. It was Irene who actually said that it makes sense. And someone agrees that is true, that red flags are there, but sometimes we think and no, the red flags are there from the beginning. I can attest to say I just ignored because it was fun. The other side of things was fun, but don't wait until you have to divorce to confront the red flags. Ruby, okay, this is the same message. Women check out emotionally. I put that up already. Women, men, please pay attention to your wives. Please pay attention to your wife. Don't start to fight for the marriages when it's too late, when they've already checked out, because like Gamu said, you cannot force them to know or to understand your love language when you don't take time to hear what it is that actually makes them tick. That is what love is all about. Rumbi, that's so relatable. Someone said, they said the kids are going to, is a big reason for becoming the best mom you can be. So those that are saying, I'm staying for the kids, it's actually bad for the kids if you are going to be staying in a space where you become a bitter person, where you become toxic to yourself. Because someone said in one of the streets day when I was listening to some live that some of our mothers are so bitter that ukadonedza sadza unogonorohwa kunge wafoira, you know, because they have frustrations that they can't, they don't know where to push. So
Yeah.
you become a toxic mother, you become a toxic person in life in general, because you've got bitterness that you carry from your marriage. Even at work, maybe you're an unbearable boss or an unbearable colleague because you just don't know what to do with the feelings that you don't confront. You have to be true to yourself. And then the last thing was enjoy the discussion. Thank you guys for the wisdom. And amen. That is true, brother. Gamuturai. Praying together is so powerful. We need to keep doing this. We need to keep talking. We need to keep praying. We need to keep being candid and being authentic. So now that is being said, everyone was here. Thank you so much for joining us. We want to wrap up and just bounce. But before we do that, we want to just give everybody who was watching a glimpse of what we did, because you can still save your marriage. If you are not yet at the dead end, because we were talking to the people who are at the dead end, saying to them, it's okay for you to choose yourself. Even if the person loves you, it might not be the best place for you to be. But before you get there, Gamu, go first, make it snappy.
Okay, I would love to see that.
I don't know why you do this to me.
What did you do wrong, Gamu? You said this last week. I mean, you had an hour and a half last week telling us about it. Yes, Samara is.
In a sentence.
What am I talking about?
What did you do wrong in the marriage?
What did you do wrong?
So I wasn't there. I wasn't present. I was there, but not there. I was more attentive to what was happening around us. I was the knighting shining armor to everybody else that was around us. I never really was there to take the heat when it comes to what was happening in my own home. I totally feel that I did take for granted the fact that I had to constantly ensure that my person knew how much I loved them. And I did not live in my mind, which is something that I was constantly told, what you live in your mind. I don't even know what's happening with you. I don't know what you're thinking, how you feel. So that was me. And then what else? I think, just to wrap up things so that I don't go above, because I know Ruby is waiting to laugh at me. So I'll keep it at that. Otherwise, the rest, guys, please go watch the other show. And then we'll probably see when I come back. I know we're coming back for another session. So yeah.
Yeah, because we're coming back again. We're coming back. Rumbi Zai, what did you do?
Okay. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I went in there blindly, and I think that was a bad starting point. I went in there with an idea of what a marriage is, from the movies, from the novels, and all that. I never sat down to really think what I wanted out of it. I had no idea who I was and what I wanted out of marriage, and I had no idea who I was marrying. So I was going to run on luck, because also, like I said, I never really involved God in my previous marriage. It was only later on, when things were going south, that I remembered, oh, flip, I can always turn to God. So yeah, that's what I did. I want to take that. Like, I just went in there blindly, head on, like we're gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
We
Ruby,
conclusions.
yeah. I'm definitely you, Rumbi. I also did that. I didn't ask myself why am I getting married. It was just a matter of why not. We were it was cool. The red flags were there, so like I'm sure there's things about me that he also saw, but we just went in there. And then while we were in there, I was in the future because I also had a template. I was just like,
Yeah.
when he has changed, then this is going to be how it's
Then
going
we'll
to be,
get
because
there.
I'm praying, because I'm doing everything I can to make him happy. So eventually, this will sort itself out. I will be in the future, and the marriage will be good. So I then also stopped actually hearing probably half the things that he was saying, because I was already fast forward into the future. And so
We were waiting for him there.
I was
Waiting
I
for
was
you 2 years down the line.
I was waiting for him there. And I also started to, because I didn't embark on the self-love journey early in life, I also feel like there was a lot of I expected him to be on my wavelength in the way that he thought and did things a lot. And I think he told me once that I think I know it all. At that point, I was like, "What are you saying?" But I now know that
I do.
there is certain aspects about my character that say, or that come off as, I feel like I know it all. So
You know.
I don't know. And being the head of the house, I feel like maybe that might have made him feel disrespected and all of that. So I take responsibility for all of those things and more. So you guys watch the other show because I've forgotten other things that I owned up to, but it
Yeah.
is quite a bit, because we had a whole show just talking and reminiscing and thinking about things that we could have done better or differently. And I mean, probably would either some of us would have never gotten married, and some of us would have kept our marriages. Either
Yeah.
way, guys, be accountable, be responsible, make sure that you're taking account for your own part, because when you do that, that's the only time that you're able to start changing things. I'm so glad that I've got friends that are willing to talk candidly about this topic that is dear to my heart, because when I had to divorce, I really felt like my world was ending. And I needed the support, and I got it. Some people don't have it. Some people are told to stay in it. Some people are suffering right now. And I'm hoping that whoever is listening, if you've got friends, if you've got relatives that need to hear these messages, please share this divorce series. We are going to come back to talk about the collateral damage. We're also going to talk about life after divorce, what happens, because we're still going through some difficult processes, regardless of how happy and we are seeming to be. Life is
Yeah.
hard. Life is
Life is
hard.
happening.
It's good, but it's hard. So
Yeah.
it's not all rosy, and we want to just be real about it so that you're prepared for what's coming. Anyway, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you again next time. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Angie.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.